All right, it's time for a little fantasy football. Week 4. D Nessie's back. Dave, how was it going this week?
A little rough this week. Kiev, some big injuries in the NFL this week. Packers lost. They pissed away the game against the Browns. Can't believe they even lost. But some other good games going on this week, though. Good Monday night football game going on right now. Fun game to watch. High scoring. Two great teams going at it. So some good football this past week, except for the Packer game, that is.
Packer game was great. Fantastic show. 10-0. And I thought I wasn't even going to cover my plus 8.5. And then they went outright and destroyed about 10% of survivors out there. So I thought that was cool. People trying to save, Buffalo and, some of the big teams. And you just think, Packers should win and the Browns. I personally would have picked a different spot for the Packers. I don't know why people did that, but it wasn't as bad as the Falcons losing to the Panthers by 30 points at home.
Oh, yeah.
No, that was away.
I couldn't believe that game either.
That was crazy. Just absolutely. Oh, there goes Montgomery. Oh, man. Almost. Oh, down to 15. What a run. Man, the Ravens' run defense just getting pounded today.
They are.
Woo! Well, that's how we have it. Let's get into some fantasy football, Dave. Key injuries, my man. I got a few, and then you can kind of fill in the cracks here. Najee Harris clearly out for the season with the torn Achilles, and we had 2 running backs that messed up their kid. What's up with the Achilles injuries this year, Dave? Because we just saw it happen to Eckler. Now it's Najee Harris and James Conner, 2 massive starters in your fantasy football.
Well, James Conner was an ankle, actually. But, yeah, the Achilles injuries for the running backs aren't an uncommon thing with them cutting so much, and the turf too. Sometimes that plays a role in it as well. But, yeah, definitely a surprise with how many injuries, big injuries that we've had so far this season already, even with the quarterbacks too.
I'm pretty sure James Conner was an Achilles. I'll double check that. But ankle's part of the Achilles, obviously. Really, really crappy that that happened. And it's just it's weird because it's tough when you're not handcuffing players in fantasy football. We say it all the time. If you have injuries, if you have a bench, I'd rather have a handcuff in there than some, journeyman guy that's going to give you 8 points a game, right? It's like, what's the use of that? It's not helping you win anything, right? So that's tough. Maybe it is just an ankle, but he's out in it says ankle surgery for sure. And so he's definitely out, and it must have been just something else in it. And that's sad, but there's also other injuries, a few bad ones. And CeeDee Lamb's out a few weeks with a high ankle sprain himself. Tyrone Tracy, the running back for the Giants, dislocated his shoulder. That's good for a few guys we'll mention later. Mike Evans had a hammy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Terry McLaurin had a quad injury for the Washington Commies. And that's all I have, but I want you guys to keep in mind suspensions are now over for Demarcus Robinson of the Niners, who's dying for receivers there, and wide receiver Jordan Addison for the Vikings, Dave.
And Taj Spears might be back in a week too, so a speculative ad for him too. So he was on injured reserve, so he can technically come back next week, and they said he's pretty close to coming back. Another one on the injury front, Brock Purdy. He was questionable this past week, so he wasn't just ruled out right away. So the small chance, but there's a chance he comes back this week. Just keep an eye on that. But they probably still hold him out this week, I think. But definitely keep an eye on Purdy because he was questionable the last couple of days of the week last week on the injury report. So another one he can come back. Mike Evans, hamstring injury. We'll get into who can replace for that. Nick Bosa out for the year with another Achilles. So on the Achilles front, another one that was a shocker. So IDP leagues, that's a huge loss. Nick Bosa going out as well. And then one other one too is Samarji Perine, who actually with Chase Brown struggling, he left with a thumb injury, but he could probably play this week though. But those are the biggest ones for sure.
All right, well there we go. Let's get to our waiver wire, Dave. Who are we picking up?
Well, there's a couple quarterbacks out there that I like, just because there's a bit. Russell Wilson's been struggling. He had one good week out of these first 3 weeks, and then Michael Penix has actually been struggling as well. So speculative ads, if you have a bench spot open, definitely add Kirk Cousins. He's barely owned in any leagues right now. Jackson Dart, he's not owned in many leagues as well. So just a speculative ad. If you have 2 quarterback leagues, or if you need some depth on your bench, I'd definitely add them as a speculative ad right now, because they could be huge down the road here if they do start for those 2 teams. A couple guys I like too that we talked about last week. I'm just going to go quickly through these just because they have great matchups. And they're playing some of the worst pass defenses this week. And Geno Smith, he had a huge week this past week. He's playing the Chicago Bears, who have the 32nd ranked defense versus quarterbacks. Love that matchup. Carson Wentz, who we talked about last week as well, he's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who actually, surprisingly, are only 28th against the pass. So I like that matchup too. And then Tua, who actually, a lot of people weren't really drafting that high this year. He's actually had a couple of good weeks in a row now. And he's playing against the New York Jets, who actually have the 25th ranked pass defense. So a couple of guys I like over there. And Bryce Young, 19th ranked pass defense, but he's actually been playing solidly the last couple of weeks too. A lot of people, he's probably on a lot of people's radars too. And he is owning quite a few leagues as well. The running back wise, Taj Brooks, I like him. He could get more carries going forward for Chase Brown, who's been struggling mightily this year. He might be one of the biggest busts so far this year. So definitely edging Taj Brooks. Woody Marks, who's actually been moving up too. He's been taking a lot of carries away from Nick Chubb those last couple weeks, and he's seen his carries and his percentage of plays that he's played and snap count increasing every week as well. So definitely adding him. Chris Rodriguez Jr., that Washington Commanders backfield is just a mess right now. But Chris Rodriguez actually had a nice week this past week. So I'd definitely add him. And Ollie Gordon had a TD and quite a few carries this past week, and he looked good too this past week. So some young running backs who are moving up the ranks right now. And then one of my favorites, Braylon Allen, he actually had a good week this past week. One of his best games was 6 carries for 30 yards and 2 catches for 17 yards. So they're giving him some more snaps too as well and carries. So keep an eye on those guys. Those are the guys that just add to your bench going forward that you might like. And then a couple of receivers that I really like. We talked about Alec Inamar last week, but he had another good week this past week. So if he's still out there, definitely top up to 5% I would spend on the free agent budget to get him. He got 8 catches for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns and 11 targets over the past couple weeks. So definitely their go-to guy there. Trey Tucker, huge game this past week.
Huge.
8 catches, 145 yards and 3 touchdowns. I started in one of my dynasty leagues and I crushed everybody because I started him.
Oh my God, you started
game.
him. Nice.
Yes.
I have him
in
a dynasty league in Shooties, and I wish I did start him, but I still won.
Yeah, so huge game. And it's not just a fluke either, because if you look at his catches and targets the past couple weeks, they've been increasing every week since week 1. So he's definitely moving up, and he's definitely probably 1B right now to Jacoby Myers. So definitely adding him. Guy that Kiev is going to like that I'm going to talk about right now, Luther Burden III. On that flea flicker that they almost threw over Caleb's head, but
that was funny.
Awesome play. Luther looked pretty good. That wasn't the only big play he had. He had some other nice catches as well. So definitely like him. That young guy to Ed. And then 2 other guys. Torrey Horton for the Seahawks has been playing well the last couple of weeks. He's almost like their number 2. He's kind of taken over Cooper Kupp's actually role there. So definitely keep an eye on him. Nice young receiver. And Tyquan Thornton, I like him actually too for the Chiefs. He had a touchdown this past week again. Rice is going to come back here in a couple weeks, but definitely keep an eye on him. And then Kavontae Turpin with the CeeDee Lamb injury, definitely picking him up as he could be the number 2 there now. And then Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be making his season debut here, probably week 6. So that's another guy I forgot to mention before with the injuries. But Ayuk is on track to be back week 6. So a speculative ad right now for him as well.
Well, throw him on your IR, and then you can pick up another guy. So yeah, I agree with all that. Trey Benson, obviously for the Connor injury is the biggest, but Emari Demercado for the Benson injury or for the Connor injury is massive too. I mean, I assume Benson's owned, but if he's not, God, put some money on that one, right? He's going to be the lead back in the bell cow for the Cardinals. And Demercado will get some passes. He didn't do great last week though. I seen him drop a few, so I didn't like that. But probably a speculative ad for Demercado as well. Hassan Haskins, dude, he's going to be the guy behind Hampton now, Marion Hampton. And I think that Najee Harris injury is going to really boost his stock up. So it's
definitely.
he's switching place with Najee, and maybe he gets a little less than Najee did, but it's still big, especially if Hampton gets injured. They'll be massive on a really good team with a great coach.
Yeah, after Harris went on, Hampton exploded. Actually, he had one of his best games of the year. So all those Hampton owners definitely plug in Hampton going forward, and Scatterboo too. Scatterboo looked awesome this week after replacing Tracy. So those two are both must starts going forward for sure.
And I would have put Cam Scatterboo down, but I'm sure he's mostly owned. I mean,
and that's why I didn't mention Trey Benson either, because he's owned in most of my leagues, and he's probably owned it over 50% of leagues. Because he was a hot guy after this first week when they had a great week.
I mentioned him just in case, but Hassan Haskins for sure. He is not owned.
Yeah, definitely.
So grab Haskins. Devin Singletary, too, for the Tyrone Tracy injury, is going to be behind Scatterboo. So keep that in mind as well. Devin Singletary. Jalen Tolbert for we'll get more targets too because CeeDee Lamb's hurt. So think about Jalen Tolbert. Jackson Dart. Russ is not looking good right now, and I think it's time to make a switch because that coach right there, he's out anyway if he doesn't do something. And Russ is just not the guy that's going to lead you to the promised land. He was terrible in the red zone yesterday, and it was he just looked lost. And we need a change there. I think Jackson Dart's ready to take over. So I think Jackson Dart's a wonderful speculative ad.
Yeah. And Russell Wilson's only good game came against the Cowboys, who have one of the worst pass defenses in the league, and they made Caleb Williams look like
Hall of Famer. He made Williams look like a
Hall of Famer.
Well, we used Caleb last week in our waivers and our non-starter sleepers trending up. And our freaking Danny Dimes, our nasty sleeper, we both had the same one last week. He freaking smoked it last week. So that was a nice little hit on us, a little pat on the back. Trey Tucker, like I said, man, I'm starting to think maybe he's a starter. I don't think Jacoby Myers is the guy.
Agreed. He's definitely taking over the number one spot almost, I think, there now.
Yeah. George Pickens off if he's available, but he's probably owned. Jeremy McNichols. He had only 3 carries, but one of them he went off on. Explosive play, got a touchdown, 78 some yards. So I think Jeremy McNichols, even though Chris Rodriguez had the most carries, I'm curious how that's going to go for the rest of the season. Rico Dowdle for the Panthers had 10 carries, which was interesting. And Ollie Gordon for the Dolphins really had 9 carries. So there's some leagues like our Yahoo League, Dave, that those guys are out there on.
Definitely, yeah.
Moves us to sleepers / non-starters trending up for week 4. Trey Benson for sure. I mean, even though he was owned, now it's time to start him. Hassan Haskins for the Chargers. It's Cam Scatterboo, baby. He is your guy going forward for the Giants, even if our boy comes back. He is definitely going to take over, and I think Tyrone Tracy might have lost his job. Hassan Haskins, yeah, I think he can be good because he's going to pick up a lot of garbage yards against the Giants, and they might baby O'Marion Hampton against the easier team here. I can see Hassan Haskins be a DFS play or something like that, or a deeper league play, right? Braylon Allen, both of us like Braylon Allen. They're playing Miami. Why not? You gotta play Braylon Allen against Miami. Patrick Mahomes. Oh, people start Patrick Mahomes these days, Dave. And, that's just been one of those weird, teams. It's more defensive now. I think he's going to be big against the Ravens. If you've been watching this Ravens defense just collapse against the Lions today, holy cow! Jordan Love. I mean, he's playing the Cowboys. Jordan Love. If you got like Jordan Love and you have, let's just say a guy like even Justin Herbert. I think I would start Jordan Love, man. I mean, against the Cowboys, you got to start the guy, man. Cowboys are just so bad against the pass.
Eberflus is not a good defensive coordinator. He's not a good coach at all. Bears are lucky that he's gone.
It just shows how incompetent the Bears are, really. I'm going to give Cooper Kupp one last chance here on a non-starter trending up. You better do something against the Cardinals Capitals. You are in my shit list. Matthew Golden and Romeo Dobbs against Dallas, too, by the way, I didn't mention. Quentin Johnson against the Giants. I like Quentin Johnson. I think he's going to put up some big yards against the Giants for the Chargers. Quarterback Bryce Young against the Patriots is an okay start this week, even. Tua Tagovailoa against the Jets is huge. And same with Jalen Waddle against the Jets. I think he's going to get plenty of touches himself. So he moves into my non-starter trending up, Dave. Who are yours?
Yeah, I had a lot of the same ones as you did. I do like Trey Benson, like you said. I like Carson Wentz against the Steelers. Steelers secondary has not been playing well. Like I said before, too, like Mariota against the Falcons. That the Commanders' backfield is just a mess right now, so I'm not touching any of those running backs. Bills, I like Ray Davis, and I like the receivers there too against the Saints. I think Shakir or Coleman could definitely break out this week against the Saints. I'm looking for one of those two guys to have a big week against the poor Saints defense. Uh, I'd like. I like Bryce Young as well. I think Chuba, who's already started already, but I like Bryce Young though, definitely there. Uh, I think Ladd McConkey actually has been struggling. He's a guy that's kind of been a bust so far. I like Quentin Johnson. He's actually been moving up the charts. He's probably a must start now too as well. I like him against the Giants. Giants defense has secondary has
I
been
think
pretty
that
well.
defenses have figured out Ladd a little bit. They're like, okay, they're going to
Yeah.
Ladd too much. Let's shut him down, and it's kind of opening up some other opportunities. So, Ladd McConkey's always that white guy under the freaking under the radar, dude, right?
Exactly. And I like Travis Etienne against the 49ers with Bosa out. That's a huge, huge loss for them. Pass rush wise and run wise. He's good at both. So I definitely like that. Tyquan Thornton, who we talked about, I like him against the Ravens. Their pass D doesn't look good tonight and hasn't all year. So I like Pat Mahomes as well, too. Definitely like that. I like Geno Smith a lot and Trey Tucker. Like we're talking him up quite a bit tonight, but I like him a lot. I like the Raiders against the poor Bears D. I hate to say it, Kiev, but Bears D is not good right now against the pass. So definitely like Geno this week. I like that matchup for him. Love Jordan Love.
Careful for what you wish for, Mr. Raider.
I do agree. The Cowboys defense has been looking at every quarterback that's played against them look like Hall of Famers and all pros. So I think Love bounces back this week, has a great game. I do like Wicks. Golden actually had some nice catches last week, and they're actually designing some plays for him last week on some sweeps and stuff too. I think Golden, this could be his breakout game actually this week. I like Wicks too. And then Dobbs is always usually pretty solid, but I definitely like Golden. I think they're going to try and feed him a little bit more. I like Ollie Gordon too against the Jets. I think Tyrod Taylor actually could have a good week too. He played solidly last week. He kept them in that game. They definitely could have won that game with him. So
they got lucky. They shouldn't even been in the game. That was that field goal block touchdown, just like it's been happening now. All these teams.
We didn't even talk about that. 5 blocked field goals
won.
this past week, which is crazy. So this is just craziness in the NFL. One against the Packers. The Philadelphia Eagles blocked one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had one too.
And not one leverage call, Dave, somehow. Not one leverage call like they did the Broncos.
Yeah. So they're definitely a crazy week in the NFL with blocked field goals. So that was definitely a crazy week. I like Jake Browning actually against the Broncos this week. I know he struggled last week against a good defense, but I think he bounces back this week and can have a good game. But I'm not touching the Bengals backfield though, because really Chase Brown with him struggling, Perrine. Perrine could be a speculative ad, or Taj Brooks, but the backfield is just a mess right now for the Bengals.
Yeah, that backfield is not. The problem is the Bengals' offensive line's bad and their defense is terrible. So if they play a team that has somewhat of a pass rush, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. I don't know, man. I think that Browning's better at home, but one of those situations. How about your bus? Who are your bus?
Yeah, bus. I don't like the Cowboys this week against the Packers, actually. I'm downgrading Pickens. Pickens didn't look like a number one when Lamb went out. I don't like him against the tough Packers. Even the Packers only gave up 10 points really that whole game, and their defense was playing well. Well, they didn't give up any points until the last 5 minutes of that game. So that was due to errors on the offense's part and the special teams. So I definitely downgrading the Cowboys this week. I don't like them. Jalen Williams, I don't think he has a good week either this week against that tough D. I'm downgrading the Buccaneers. The Eagles D is legit. So I'm definitely downgrading Mike Evans if he plays because he's still banged up. And Baker Mayfield, I'm downgrading him against that Eagles D. You can still start him, but I'm just saying I don't like him as much. He's definitely trending down against a good Eagles defense. I don't like that. I do not like Russell Wilson against the Chargers. Chargers D has actually been pretty good this year. I don't like Russell Wilson this week or Jackson Dart, like we were saying, if he ends up coming into play as well. I don't like those matchups there. Lions, they played well this past week. I still like the Lions, though, against the Cleveland D, but I'm just downgrading them a little bit. They're just trending down a little bit against the tough Browns defense because they did look good. I think the Lions play a lot better than the Packers did against them, though. So still starting on those Lions, though, but just downgrading them just a tad against them. Saints, don't like them against the Bills. Kamara, downgrading him and Spencer Rattler. Definitely downgrading them against that tough D. And that's about it.
All right. Well, there you go. There's a lot of downgrades. I have a few myself here, some of the sames. But yeah, Stefan Diggs, man, he hasn't done nothing for the Patriots, Dave.
No,
He,
that's a good one
I
actually as well.
yeah, I had some hope with him drafting him late, but man, he has just been awful. And it seems like Boutte or Mac Hollins is better. I don't know. He is just not doing it. And I don't know if you're going to drop him, but I think you bench him
No,
until he
you're
does
definitely
better.
not dropping him now. But yeah, he's been
Yeah, you're
struggling
not.
so far.
And Ashton Genty, dude. I know he's playing the Bears, but man, I mean, this is a terrible Raiders offensive line, and they probably should have thought about that before drafting a running back. Man, I don't like Genty this year going forward. If you have better options,
Agreed.
David Montgomery has a tough one against the Browns. You saw what the Browns do to running backs; it's not pretty. So think about David Montgomery there. Javonte Williams against a mad Packers defense. Oh, I don't like Javonte Williams. I
No.
might have to bench him this week myself. Kenneth Walker against the Cardinals is kind of sus. Cardinals been decent against the run, not so much the pass, but better against the run. Debo Samuel against a mad Falcons team is kind of rough. I don't think you're starting Debo Samuel anyway, but if you are, that's pretty pathetic. Aaron Rodgers against the Vikings D is bad. I don't like Aaron
Yes, I
Rodgers at
forgot that
all
one. That's
this
a good
week.
one actually.
Yeah. DK Metcalf, throw him in there too against Vikings D. And hate to say it, but Danny Dimes is finally going to have a tough matchup here at the Rams, a pissed off Rams team that had a block touchdown. They're going to win the game. Then the block happens. Not only do they lose, they don't even cover. Man. It was like the baddest beat in the NFL in quite a long time. And I like Danny Dimes, but now we're going from my nasty sleeper to my bust list, Dave. So I mean,
Yeah,
they'll
I agree.
shock me. They'll shock me if they do put up some decent points.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with Genty. I think he's one of those busts that we were talking about before. A few of the busts this year so far. He's definitely in that bust category. Everyone drafted him as a top 12 running in the first round in the top 12 picks. So definitely a bust so far. Most people drafted him in the first round.
All right, nasty sleeper time, Dave. Should I go first?
Go ahead.
Nick Chubb. Look,
Really?
the
That's a surprise.
it's a sleeper, but look, the Titans are terrible, man.
Yeah.
Freaking terrible. And the 0-3 Texans are desperate. And this is a bad offensive line, but I think they're just going to dig deep against a terrible Titans team and bring it. I think Chubb's going to have a freaking big game, and it's a nasty, nasty sleeper, Dave. That's why it's not
That is
just sleeper.
nasty.
That's why it's a nasty.
That is a nasty, nasty one. I like Woody Marks for them better than I think Chubb actually. But my nasty sleeper is actually going to be Geno Smith against your poor Bears pass defense. I love Geno Smith. He had a great game this past week. I look that to continue this week, and I like the Trey Tucker connection too. But definitely, I'm going D, and my D nasty sleeper is going to be Geno Smith. Look for him to have a big game this week.
You've been really sticking to running backs. I noticed. So that's interesting. Or quarterbacks, I should say, because you went Danny Dimes last week. We could have said Tua is nasty sleeper too. The way he's been playing, and not a lot of people are
He's been
playing.
playing well.
Well, he played well last week until he threw the interception. But I think that now that he's got the Jets, I think this is kind of like a get off the bench and you better do something type thing. Even though you don't like your coach, you got to win. By the way, Nick Chubb has had 34 carries, and the next is CJ Stroud with 13, and then Woody Marks is 12. So Nick Chubb has way more carries. So I still like Nick Chubb there. Just FYI, Dave. Anything we missed?
Woody Marks, I'm telling you. The rest of the year wise, though, I'm saying that going forward, Woody Marks is going to take over that backfield eventually.
This is my 1 week nasty sleeper, so we're sticking with Nick Chubb. Anything we miss?
I don't think so. Crazy week in the NFL with all the blocked field goals. Looking forward to some good football this week as well. Some nice matchups this week.
It sure made a lot of defenses interesting, especially if your defense scores on special teams, man. It was a hell of a week in the NFL. But let's see if we get another one this week and maybe a few upsets. We haven't had any real big upsets lately. I guess the Packers one was big, but
The East was big.
Yeah, for Survivor hasn't been so big.
And the Carolina Panthers was a big one too. That was a pretty big upset too.
That was big, but they're both road. I want to see a
Yeah.
home upset by somebody, just not my Survivor play. If it's going to be, I was on the Colts this week for Survivor. I picked the away team, but I was hoping a few upsets. But then Seattle just immediately said we ain't losing these guys, so it didn't happen. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at the Oddsbreakers. Emails at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Remember, I am only doing one weekly podcast on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to talk college and NFL. And maybe on Friday night into Saturday morning, we'll do a quick market analysis for the college football and NFL games. In the meantime, make sure you enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners.